Okay, couture crafters, let's get into this album. We are going to start with the box first, and you are going to cut your first piece at 10.5 by 6.5. You're going to cut your next piece at 4.5 by 6.5. And you're going to need 2 of these. Please refer to the cutting guide as usual. You know how this goes. But again, 2 pieces at 4.5 by 6.5. Bust out your scoreboard, and you're going to take that long piece and you're going to score on the 10.5-inch side at 1.5 and then at 9. I know on the cutting guide there's another piece, and we'll do that one later. But on the 4.5 by 6.5 pieces, you're going to score at 1.5 and then at 3. You're going to do that for both pieces. This is when I cut the other piece right here, which is 7.5 by 6.5. Or maybe that's the 8 by 7 piece that I cut. Don't worry, you'll have all your pieces. You'll see how they go together. Okay, so that last piece that I cut was the 8 by 7. And this one here would be the 7.5 by 6.5. Just cut all your pieces for the box section. Okay, you see how that one fits right in between? Perfect. Go ahead and fold over on your score marks. And you will have created that little cup right there, and then these little pieces will be the sides that are going to reinforce this box. This is a really easy project to put together. It might seem intimidating, but it's not. So then you're just going to put those right up against it so that it reinforces the box, the sides, since we have a bunch of booklets that are going to be on top of it. So I'm putting all that glue on 2 sides, and then you'll just match it up and stick it right down. Try to bring it up to a 90-degree angle. I'm using art glitter glue as usual, and then do the same thing for the other side. This is actually the hardest part, the box, of putting this album together, in my opinion. Again, don't be worried about trying to cut what I cut when I cut it. You have all the pieces on the cutting guide. This is more about just watching where to put what piece. So the piece that we just measured, that piece right there is going to go right on the top. It should fit exactly. Make sure you're doing the right one. This should be the one that fits exactly, which is going to be the 7.5 by 6.5 piece. And then you just plop it there on the top. What? Is that the box? It is. This is a matchbox style, so there's no back to the box. The box can slide in and out as it pleases. This is the bottom part of the box. You need a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. This is the drawer. I shouldn't say the bottom part. This is the drawer. And I'm cutting this down at 9.25 by 10.25. And again, you need a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock for this. I'm just using some paper. I think it's Basil at Joann's. It's not as heavy as the 110, but it'll work. So again, that was 10 1/4 by 9 1/4. And then you're just going to go around all the sides and score at 1.5. All the sides. Now we're going to use our scissors to release the tabs. You are going to cut straight up to the score mark on the score line, and then angle your scissors and just do a little notch. Go all the way up to the score line, then angle your scissors on the tab and do a little notch. Do the same thing on the opposite side. I rotated that paper all the way till I got across from it. You want these to be across from one another. This paper did not score or fold as nicely as I wish it would have, but it still works just fine. So after you do all that, you need to fold on all of your score lines. See, it's not an easy fold for me. I did not love this paper at all. I would have much rather have preferred to use the 110 pound by Recollections or something, but I fought with it and eventually I got it. But it was not an easy fold. I wonder if I had scored it harder, maybe. I don't know. So I'm just folding in the tabs here. And I'm making sure that I'm actually on the score line. And just folding some more. And there you go. So we're going to put glue on the tabs. Try to make sure you get those corners. And you're just going to try to make your box a 90-degree angle. Just going to hold and pinch. And just line them up. Try to make sure that you don't have any overhang on the box. If you do, trim that off. More glue. Isn't this fun, guys? Because I'm doing this as a voiceover, there will probably be moments when I'm not saying anything. Don't be scared. I'm still here. Again, use this guide as something to kind of watch me putting it together. I'm going to try to remember the measurements the best I can, but I might not be exact on this video, but the cutting guide should help you. That larger sheet right there, that's the 8x7, that sits on top of the box. To reinforce this box after I made it, I glued some more 7.5 by 6.5 sheets on top. Because I have all these booklets sitting on top of this box and this box isn't made out of chipboard, I really wanted to reinforce it. So I put a couple of sheets of 110 pound Recollections paper in the same color on top before I put this panel on. The 8x7 panel is just a decorative panel. So I'm going to show you guys how I decided to decorate that right here. It's just decorative. It doesn't really serve a purpose. And it is purposely larger than the drawer. I wanted to hide the drawer underneath the booklets. So again, this panel that I'm working on now is larger. There is some overhang on all the sides. It's decorative. So this is the Gina K snowflakes that I used in my card series. And I just decided that just having gray and pink was just too plain. So I wanted to do a watermark of some sort, but the VersaFine, I don't know. I decided instead of watermarking it, I did a tone on tone. So that stone blue on this stormy gray color here comes up not quite as a watermark, a little bit darker. So I'm using Catherine Pooler's Stone Gray. I have that pink color over there because I was anticipating doing it on the pink paper too. But then I went to Michael's and bought that shimmery pink paper. So I decided against decorating it with the snowflakes too. I love these snowflakes. I think they're so pretty. Very, very pretty snowflakes. So I'm just going back over, and then I placed some more snowflakes all around. That's the template that I used to see what it was going to look like. That's actually the wrong size. That is not the size of the pink paper, but you get the picture. I just wanted to see what was going to be visible. Okay, now we're doing our pink book. This is the largest pink book, and you're going to cut one at 7 by 7.25. And then there's another one that you're going to cut by 7 by 6. So there's one that we're doing 7.25 by 7 and another one that we're doing 7 by 6. This booklet is made of 2 different pieces because of the size that it is. I couldn't do it out of an 8.5 by 10 sheet of paper. 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, I should say. I'm marking 7.25 on this paper just because this ruler is a pain in the patootie, and I wasn't exactly sure where it was on this ruler because of the way it is. So I just used my ruler to find 7.25. So now with your scoreboard, you're going to find the 7.25 side, or 7.25 as I have it on here. Just kidding. Just kidding. I changed to this pearlescent paper. It was prettier. So again, you're just watching me cut the exact same things over again. I'm cutting one at 7.25 by 7, and the other one is 7 by 6. I ran to Michael's while I was making this. That pink paper was just bothering me. And then I had grabbed all that other pink paper and nothing just looked right. I fixed that. Surprise, pearlescent paper. I wish it was, well, I don't know that I wish that it was pearlescent on both sides, but you'll see where that kind of caused a slight, what could be an issue to somebody. So like I was saying, you're going to score on the 7.25 side at 1 and then 1.25, which is 1.25. So you're going to score at 1 and then you're going to score right next to it. Well, not right next to it, but 1.25. Oh, you can see those score marks really good on that. And that's all you're going to need to do for that booklet part. Then you're just going to fold over on your score lines. I like having a Teflon bone folder because it doesn't make any impressions on your paper. When you use those plastic ones, well, you get what you get, which could be marking on your paper. And I'm just working with the paper until I can score it nicely, and then I have the nice little pocket there. This pink paper, I use the matte side on the inside. I could have used a pearlescent paper now that I think about it. But maybe not, because trying to glue pearlescent to pearlescent is very difficult. Pearlescent to regular paper works a whole lot better than trying to glue pearlescent to pearlescent. That's one thing that I've found that this art glitter glue does not do well. Is textured like glitter paper to glitter paper, no. But glitter paper to the other side, the porous side, is fine. So here I'm just lining it up, and I just created a pocket, you can see from the side. And I'm just pushing it down. You want to get this as exact as possible. If it's not, go on ahead and trim off any excess and square up your paper if you have any overhang, because that kind of messes with what we're doing here. So you see, you want it to be as square as possible. That pocket booklet is going to sit on top of that decorative gray panel there. Now we're working on the pocket, which is 8 by 3.5. And then we're going to go on ahead and peel that sticker off. And we're going to score on the 8-inch side at 0.5 and 7.5. So you just want 1/2-inch marks on 3 sides. So then here we're going to just score down on the short side of the 3.5-inch side at 1/2 inch, 0.5. You want 1/2 inch all the way around. This makes a pocket. Then we're going to take our scissors. We're going to cut that diagonal and do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll just score. Then we'll just fold on all the lines, and this creates a pocket. Please remember that you can slow these videos down or you can speed them up just by going to the little hamburger or the 3 dots in the corner and just changing the speed. And you see, the pocket fits perfectly. I'm just making sure, and then you're going to put glue on those tabs. I am not a fan of pink, but I tell you, I am so in love with this little pink album. And so you're going to make sure that it's on top of the score marks. You do not want to put that all the way down to the bottom. You see that I've left the 1/4 inch right there above it. So you have the 1/2 inch and then a 1/4 inch. You want to make sure that that pocket does not go below that line. And that's the pocket. Now we're going to do the most difficult. I guess this is probably the most difficult part of this album, which isn't too difficult. You are going to cut some sheets at 6 3/4 by 6. You're going to do 2 of those, 6 3/4 by 6, or 6.75 by 6. I don't know which way you guys prefer it, in the decimal way or the fraction way. I don't know, but 6 3/4 by 6, and then you're going to score on the 6 3/4 inch side just at the 1/2 inch, so 0.5, 1/2 inch right there. That's it. Not too difficult. Now we're going to cut the 8.5 by 6 sheet. We're going to do 2 of these, 8.5 by 6. And I'm using a 12 by 12 inch paper here, so I'm going to have to cut twice. 8.5 by 6. Perfect. Now we're going to score at 1/2 inch and it's 6. So scoring at 1/2 inch and then it's 6. Same thing on the other sheet. 1/2 inch and then it's 6. Now we're going to fold on all of our lines, on all of our score lines, folding, pressing it flat. So for this one here, instead of folding toward the bump on that one, you're going to fold that other panel toward you. See? We're going to fold that one the opposite direction that you fold that little itty bitty 0.5 piece. See, look, I'm folding that one. Instead of toward the bump, I'm folding it the opposite way. That's important. It should be kind of like a Z. Now we're going to go on ahead and just notch the sides. So you're cutting right to the score line, not through it. To it, not through it. At an angle. Do not cut through your score line. It won't allow you to have your stuff straight. We're going to go ahead and notch those sides too. All the 1/2 inch ones. Okay. Now we're going to grab our booklet and we're going to grab the flaps. Each flap, not the Z-fold, goes all the way to the end. You see how I have a little overhang at the bottom? I don't like that. That could be for a myriad of reasons, but I'm going to fix it. So I am marking what's hanging over the bottom with my pencil. And I'm going to measure the other one. This is why it's important to audition your stuff before you select it, because you never know if something's going to give you a little trouble. And I see a little overhang on this one too. I'm just going to take it off just a little bit, just a hair, just enough to annoy me. And then I'm going to measure all these and make sure that these are perfect and see if I'm going to get any overhang. And if I am, I'm going to square it up. So I didn't show it, but I took a hair off of the pieces that I marked, and then I was fine. So you're going to match this up with the bottom and make sure that you are not gluing anything in between those 1/4 inch square lines for the booklet. Where the booklet folds, it has a little gusset. Do not glue in that gusset. Nothing should be in that gusset because it'll mess up the way that it closes or opens. So here, you're lining it up with the other side. No problem. Making sure that the bottom is lined up. And making sure that the top part is not in that gusset. Pull it, adjust it the best you can. Perfect. And smooth it out. All right, that looks really good. Now we're going to take these Z-fold pockets, and you see how I'm lining it all the way up with the left edge, not the right edge, with the left edge. I'm lining it up with the left edge, but the glue is going on the right. The glue is where my right hand is. I'm just lining it up and holding it on the left hand side. Do you see? So technically, I think I glued that down 3/8 of an inch inward on that flap. And that's what pops open with that little mechanism. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Make sure that the bottom is lined up more so than the top, because you don't want anything peekabooing out, see? You want to make sure that nothing is peekabooing out the bottom. That'll give away the reveal. So I'm lining it up with the right edge of the flap. And the glue is on the left side. And then I'm going to press it down. I'm holding it with my right hand and then I press it down. Just smooth it out. And fidget with it until it's right. Perfect. Now I added a magnet here on that top flap. Actually on the underside of that top flap so that it stays down. And then I'm playing with it to see how I want it to close. You guys, that probably is the most difficult one to do. Now it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's do the gray one now. This is the gray booklet. Booklet number 2. We're going to cut a piece at 10 1/4 by 6. And this actually makes the booklet. And then it looks like I am cutting another piece at 3 by 7. And this is going to be for the pocket. 2 of my booklets have a pocket, 1 doesn't. And then we're going to go ahead and cut these flaps at, one of them is going to be 3 3/4 by 5. and the other one's going to be 4x4. For the pocket and the flaps, I'm using a lighter weight cardstock because I don't want to add a lot of bulk to my album if I don't have to. There are some places where I really want things to be sturdy. There are other places when I need not to add a lot of bulk. And now we're going to eat. Now we're going to eat some gummy bears. Always with the candy. So for the flaps, you are going to, that was the 4x4 piece. You're just going to score on one of the sides at 1/2 inch. And then on the 3 1/4 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch again. We're making a pocket. So for the 3x7, you're going to do it at 0.5 and then 6 3/4. And then on the short side, you'll just do it at 0.5. For the actual booklet, you're scoring on the 10 1/4 inch side at 5 and then 5 1/4, which is right next to it. Easy peasy. For the pocket, don't forget, we got to cut it at a diagonal angle. Then we've got to fold on all of the score lines. Don't forget, this is a video. You will be just fine pausing and whatnot at your own pace comfortably. Again, you can slow this down or speed it up. It's up to you. And we're notching all of our flaps. That's just so that it's easier not to have any overhang. And when you're matting, it actually hides, if you do it right, it will hide that little overlap with your decorative paper sometimes. You're going to fold over on all of your score marks. And you're going to form your little pocket. I'm using my ruler here. This is 110-pound cardstock for the pocket. Not for those flaps in that other pocket, but for the actual little booklet pocket. Not, oh my goodness, booklet. For the booklet is what I'm trying to say. It's heavyweight cardstock. Those other pieces should be a lighter cardstock. And as you can see, the discrepancy in Michael's cardstock and the color, the 65-pound is a little bit lighter. You can't tell right there when it's up against the other one, but I can see it in person. The color is slightly off. Not so bad, but slightly. So we're just going to encourage our glue to flow nicely. And we're going to put it all together. Little glue here, little glue there. There we are. And again, be sure that you're getting your pocket just to the score line, but not over the score line. There should be a 1/4 inch gusset underneath that pocket. You'll see when I smooth it down here. You see, it's right at the line. And I'm making sure that there's no overhang or anything like that. And now I'm grabbing the rectangular pocket and I'm putting that one on the right. And I'm making sure that it's not interfering with the way that it closes. Because this little flap here goes all the way up to the top. And I'm just making sure that it's perfect as I can get it. And making sure that it closes without showing. And then we're going to grab this other one And we're going to put some glue on it and just get it as close to the bottom as we can without it overlapping or showing underneath when the booklet is closed. I like this design with the shorter one in front of the other. Kind of cute. See, you can tell the difference in the color right there. At least I can. Okay, nothing's hanging out, and this one is going to go on the top of that one. So now I'm just stacking them all up to see where I am. I put some stamps on top of that booklet that we just did. I used my Tim Holtz stamp platform to do it because I'd already put that pocket in before I did it, so I knew that I might need to stamp a couple of times in the same spot. This is the last booklet. It's the pink one, and I'm cutting one sheet at 8 1/4 by 5. I know I'm doing it at 4. I messed this one up. Don't pay it any attention to, like the paper says, the cutting guide, you're going to do 8 1/4 by 5. Then you're going to do your flaps. You're going to do 2 flaps at 5 1/2 by 3 1/2 or 5.5 by 3.5. So I know we worked on the hardest elements to the easier elements, but when you're opening up this album, you just have 2 regular flaps in the pink one. Then the gray one is kind of funky with the way that they open because it's got one that's kind of different sizes or whatever, a little more interesting. And then the pink one has the interactive element where you can pull it and the flaps flap, flap. You know, they have a little kick to them. So now let's do our scoring on this pink flap. For the booklet, you're going to score on the 8 1/4 inch side at 4 and then 4 1/4. And see here, I still haven't caught my error yet. I'm measuring there, which is fine. These are perfectly fine. And you're just scoring at the 1/2 inch on the 5 1/2 side. On the long side, you're just scoring at a 1/2 inch. That booklet, however, is still the wrong size. I'm going to catch it though. So you look at how little that looks. Like, come on. Really, Mac? You can't see that? Look at it. I'm just a folding. And I'm just a working with it thinking, oh, this is little. Leave it to me. I used to talk about people who left their errors in the videos. But the way that I'm shooting, I am not going back to pull this out. The way that I'm editing, I don't have time for it. So I'm just going to let you guys watch me just making stuff that makes no sense. This is what happens when you're binge watching Gilmore Girls while you're working. Look at it. This is where I think I figured it out. Fixed it. So make sure you cut according to the cutting guide, not according to what you just saw me do. That booklet needed to be a little bit larger. I cut it at 4 instead of 5. But now it will fit. So we're just going to notch the flaps just like we've been doing before. After watching this video and doing the voiceover, kind of makes me want to do another one. It's so simple. Not happening, but you can see this is not a difficult album at all. It just looks pretty cool. So the way that this one was designed is for the paper to peek out at the top. So you're going to line these flaps up with the bottom of the booklet. I'm testing to see how I want to do it. Nope. I decided to just keep them even and I line them up with the bottom of the booklet. And then there'll be a little bit of color or paper sticking out at the top. Now we need to encourage our glue again, because I don't put the pin back in. A lot of times I'll just leave it open while I'm doing other things. I just keep the pin around. And you just want to line that up so that it's right. If you have any overhang, which I sometimes do, I have a guillotine chomper, which I love. Or I'll just grab an X-Acto knife and trim if I need to. If something's hanging out or if I can see something peeking out that bothers me, that might interfere with something closing, then I will just trim it or square up my pieces. It happens to everybody. I get so many comments about how exact my stuff is. Not really. It's really not. It's really, really not. And there we are. It closes up. That one there, I just happened to get a little wood on the ball. And then we're just going to adjust it and make sure that it closes without peeking out at the bottom, and it does. Yay! Good stuff. So now this is me just checking it out, making sure that everything is doing what I want it to do, checking the design elements. Boy, I like those snowflakes. Too bad they're being covered up. Got a little pocket there. It opens. I like what's happening. I had an idea of what papers I wanted to put right there. And then my favorite booklet. Open, open, pull. Woo! Yes. Check your work, guys. See if there's things that you want to change. See? That sits on top of that booklet there. On top of that drawer. And the drawer comes in and out. Matchbox style. There's no back to that drawer. Again, I glued a couple of pieces of paper with wet glue. You want to do it with wet glue on top of the box just to make it sturdy because we're stacking things on top of it. That's something I decided to do when I was putting it together. And I like it. I like what we're doing here. So let's move on to creating the actual album. We started with the box and the drawer. Now we're going to go to section 1. We started with section 2. Section 1 is probably a whole lot easier than you would ever think that it is. I'm using heavyweight cardstock to build the album. No chipboard on this one. And I'm cutting not all the paper. I'm cutting that sheet right there, at 8.5 by 10. This album measures 8.5 by 10. For the waterfalls, I'm using 65-pound paper. And I'm cutting all the paper at 6.5 by 10. And I'm doing 3 of those. So 65-pound cardstock, which is just the regular cardstock in the same color family. I'm just cutting all those at 6.5 by 10. There's 3 of them. People always ask me, how do you decorate? How do you mat? Decorating and matting is personal preference. You might want to mat differently than I do, but for these waterfalls, I'll just tell you, I did a 1/4 inch shorter on all the sides, which is usually what I do, is I'll cut my paper 1/4 shorter on all the sides. Okay, for the connector piece, I'm cutting it at 4 3/4 by 10. This is the connector, and it's 4 3/4 or 4.75 by 10. And then I'm cutting another sheet, the base D at 8.5 by 10. And then another sheet, the flaps, 8.5 by 10. And I'm using 8.5 by 11 paper. So I only need to make 1 cut, and that's at 10. See how easy that is? What? You guys are going to make like 10 of these albums. You guys make like 10. And I'm going to be like, whoa. They did one for every member of their family. Super simple. I kid you not. The hardest part is done. I like that we worked from the hardest part to the easiest part. So here I'm just lining up all the 8.5 by 10s, making sure that they are even. And I noticed that one of the sheets is off. That could absolutely be me. So I'm going to square it up. I can see that it's crooked from right here. Like, look at it. Like, why is it crooked at the bottom? It's all right. I'm going to fix it. Try to see which way is most comfortable. I would have thought the other way would have been more comfortable for me now that I'm watching it back. And got it. Squared it up. Trimmed it. So now, let's put this puppy together. Oh, no, let's do some scoring. How about that? Forgot all about that. What piece am I going to score first? The waterfall pieces. So these are the 6.5 by 10 sheet pieces, and I'm just scoring them at a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch waterfall. Now for the connector piece, I'm going to do this improperly on screen, but I want you all to do it at 1 and then 3 3/4. So you're going to do it at 1 and then 3.75 or 3 3/4. For this piece, the 8.5 by 10 piece, you're going to do it at 1 3/4 and at 4 1/4. So 1.75 and then 4.25. You're going to do that twice on 2 of the 8.5 by 10 sheets. So again, that's just 1 3/4 and then 4 1/4 for the flaps. And then at some point I'm going to realize that the connector is just all wrong. I knew it was wrong when I looked at it. Like, something is not right here. Like, why would I do that? Then I had to go look at my prototype. Then I realized I was just as wrong. It didn't even make sense. So here I'm just making sure that everything is square. I'm making sure that those waterfalls are doing what they're supposed to do. Now I'm eating gummy bears. So fold over your waterfalls. You might need to use a ruler to do this. Maybe, maybe not. There we go. Waterfall, just rolling it over, using the bone folder to encourage it to fold nicely. Why am I using lighter weight paper here? I already know that I'm backing it with 2 on both sides with decorative paper, which is going to add weight and bulkiness, and I really want it to lay as flat as possible, so this worked out really well. Some people say don't notch when you're doing waterfalls. It messes up how it lays, and that might very well be true. So do what you feel. You can notch here, you cannot notch, up to you. You have to figure out what works best for you. Waterfalls are very easy to make crooked, in my opinion. I'm not the best at them. That's why I do the waterfall where the longest one is over it, so you don't really see the waterfall coming. If you know my trifold album, you know what I'm talking about. It was kind of hidden. It was a hidden waterfall. This waterfall is just one where you flip the pages. It's not interactive in the sense that, the pages flip when you pull something. So I'm just lining this up with the edge. This waterfall is going to go all the way to the left edge. I'm rotating and pulling the paper. It doesn't matter at this point which way it goes. But just know that the first one is going to be on your left. And now I'm just checking to see if I can get this one straight. And it's going to go in front, not on top, in front of it, so that it's cascading down. And I'm notching again, just a little bit, just a wee bit. And I'm going to add glue. And this fold is going to start where the other one ended. So it's going to go in front of that, not on top of it, but in front of it. There we go, so that you have a 1/2 inch gusset. And I'm lining the paper up with the bottom. Usually line the paper up with what's closest to you, because that's what people will see. If the bottom is all lined up the top, well, ain't nobody over there. They can't really see that it's off or on. And don't worry, you can clean it up with your ruler and an X-Acto knife or a guillotine trimmer or your paper trimmer later. So let's do it again. The last one is going to go in front. Perfect. Did I notch the sides? Oh, yep, notching. Just a little bit, just a hair. Add a little glue. Even though these colors are off, you really can't see it because it's pretty close. Once you put the decorative paper on top, you really can't tell too bad that these colors are a little different. And maybe somebody will just think that that's adding to the design element. Who knows? And there we have the waterfall. Wasn't that easy? Now we're going to find out that the connector piece is just as wrong. Look at me. I'm looking at it like something is not right. Something is not right. And I'm still going with it. Watching the Gilmore Girls, probably laughing or crying or doing something. Who knows? And this is just not right. Fixed it. 2.5. Needs to be a 2.5 inch gusset. Helpful hint, for the connector, the left side is going to go on top of the other piece of that section, that first section. On the right side, it's going to go on the bottom. So you'll see right now, I'm putting this on top. I'm connecting it on top. I'm taking that waterfall and I'm putting it on the connector pieces, laying on top of the first section. And I'm just making sure that it's even on top. See? On top of the paper. I can't say that enough. So that way, when the cover is smooth on the front. So this is just another 8.5 by 10 sheet, and it's going to go on, the connector is behind it. So it's going on top of the connector. It's just another 8.5 by 10 sheet. And I'm putting glue on top of the connector here. Are you going to die if you do it a different way? No, you're not. But it's my preference. It's how I designed it. Yes, 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 yes. And I'm just making sure that it still folds and bends. And see that gusset there? That's a 2.5 inch gusset. That's a big one. It's a big one. And now we're going to work with the flaps. So make sure that your flaps are out of heavyweight cardstock. It keeps with the whole like reveal and boxiness of this that I was going for. So just fold over. And I used 8.5 by 11, 110-pound cardstock by Recollections, which is the brand that you can find at Michael's. I'm not supposed to be releasing this until the 1st of December. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I can keep it to myself that long. You guys know how I struggle with making stuff and wanting to show everybody what I made immediately so we can talk about it. I want to talk about it right now. So again, we just folded over our square lines on the flaps. These are the 8.5 by 10 that we scored twice. Now, I'm out of frame. I don't know why. I am putting glue on the short ends of the side, short end. Am I ever going to come back in frame? I don't like that I'm out of frame. And I am lining this up so that the 2.5 inch gusset is on the side. This will make sense to you guys, I promise. This is the short side, and I'm putting this on top of that 8.5 by 10 sheet. It's on top. And then this one goes on top right where the score line is so that it closes. I'm working on top of an 8.5 by 10 sheet right now, guys. make sure that it's over far enough. You'll see right now. There we go. It's going right up next to that line that's by my left hand. This is going right up next to it. That big space right there, you're going to leave that space. You can't see it, but it's right next to the line. You're going to see when I smooth it out. You see that I just tried to close it to make sure that it misses it. And there we go. Perfect. Smooth it out. There we go. And now I'm just testing to make sure that the drawer fits in there. And it does. And then it closes. That's the album. What? That is the album, guys. That's the whole album. So we have the waterfalls on the left. Then we have that gusset. Then we have this space here. And then when you open it, you'll have pretty paper. And then you'll have a drawer there. So here I'm just playing with the drawer. Again, I glued 2 sheets of paper on top of that drawer. And make sure that you saturate it with glue, because it makes it really strong, like you're building bricks or something. And this is the decorative element that goes on top. So I'm just putting this decorative panel on top. I can feel underneath that I'm centering the panel, because again, it's hanging over so that you don't see that there's a drawer underneath. And look, the drawer is just flying out. That's what I want, though. I want it to move in and out easily. Don't worry about it flying out when the album is tipped up or tipped back. We're going to take care of that. Obviously, I have decorated my booklets already. And I'm gluing them down after they've already been decorated. And then here's another booklet. I'm making sure that I have the right side up. Nothing looks crazy. And now I'm just gluing it down to the next one. And I'm centering it the best I can. There we go. No overhang, nothing to chop. Oh my God, if you have this ribbon, put it in the trash can, throw it away. I tried it. It's celebrated. It was on sale. There was glitter. It is the most difficult, crunchy, raggedy ribbon that I've ever used. That ribbon did not work for this project, and I don't like glitter. So when I saw that the glitter was coming off everywhere, I got more and more annoyed. You see that I only put down 2 of the booklets, though. You're looking at the gray booklet, but it ends on the pink booklet. Pay attention when you guys are doing this. I mean, right now, look at this. Then the ribbon came apart. I couldn't get a pretty bow. Oh, no. Absolutely not. That whole spool went in the trash can. Absolutely. It was terrible. Look at all that glitter everywhere. Then I had to clean up the glitter, get it off of my project. Now we have some pretty pink ombre ribbon. Oh, I was struggling just a minute ago. I just annoyed myself watching it back. Got annoyed all over again. I'm not even there. So here we are. We're making a pretty bow. Nice girly bow. And I like it because it's wired. Now we're bringing in the last booklet on top of the bow. Make sure that your bow is laying down flat underneath all around the box. I'm putting some glue underneath the ribbon. Now I'm putting it all over the back of the little booklet. And it ends with the pink booklet. So pretty. All this pink. Now I have decorated the album. And it's time to... Oh, I just love it. Just love it. After your album is fully decorated, you are going to add glue all over the back, including the ribbon, everywhere. You are going to center it, push it to the back just a little bit, not so that it's so far back that it hangs over, but you do want it back further so that you have room for that bow. And this is where I'm placing the magnet so that it can actually close. You can use tape to tape down your magnets if you'd like. You can use Velcro, which goes on after the decorative paper. You can close this however you want. You might want to do, you know, it really, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't show you guys how I close this, but now that I think about it, there really is only one way to close it, and that's to do a magnetic closure. Use your best judgment. I should have shown that, but I didn't now that I think about it, but you guys will be fine. Close that sucker with some magnets. So you open it. You have your waterfall on the left now. I ended up putting paper in the gussets, of course. Then I put a magnet there to open. Then you undo this. And I'm just checking my work right now because I did end up adding more decorations. All the little Santas and the random mermaid scales. Then you lift that up. There's a pocket there. Boy, this paper is just truly grown on me. I am not a pink girl. And there's my favorite. Yay, and then you pull it. The only thing I don't like is that because this paper is shimmery, when you glue on top of it, you see the matte side of the paper. And for the drawer, I ended up putting a little handle at the bottom that opens and closes, but I'm just checking my work right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave any questions you have at the bottom. Thank you.